Okay, today we're going to talk about why it's important when you take your car in for service to have the service station show you why you need what you need. And if they start with this crap, well, you can't go in the back stall because of insurance reasons or whatever, just take your car right out of there. Don't even give them a chance to get you. If they tell you you need brakes, a lot of times you need brakes when you go in. If they're grinding, you know that already. But let's just say you're in there for routine service, like this guy. Okay? This guy takes his car to a local shop, and they give him a shopping list of $2,297 worth of stuff on a 2015 84,000 mile Ford Escape. So he goes there because he gets tires there and he gets his tires rotated, but he brings the car to me, and his whole family has been coming to me for 30 years. More than 30. Anyway, so he brings me the list. They tell him he needs front pads, which he did. We knew that. The pads were wore out, right down to nothing. You can see there, almost nothing on them. Rear pads were, they're down. They probably have 25% left. The new ones I put on there are like this thick, right? So those pads were down to about 25%. They tell him he needs front rotors. Oh, before I ever brought this car in the shop, one of the things I do when I'm checking out a car is I go for a ride before I ever bring it in the shop. And I, in this case, got the car up to about 70, 75 miles an hour and put the brakes on. I want to know, because he said brakes, I want to know if the rotors are square, if they're wobbling. Well, then we know right now we need rotors, or they need to be turned, one of the two. So, and this car was glass smooth. But I still don't know what I'm going to find until I take the tires off. We could have rotors that are falling apart where they delaminate, where the surface is all coming off of them. Then we're going to replace them. Or they could be so corroded that they're unsafe. That's another way. But not in this case. This car, the rotors were in perfect shape, front and rear, both in perfect condition. You can see they're not wobbling, they're not corroded, they're not falling apart. So that's a lie. So that's a lie right there, rotors, okay. Then they say he needs front struts. Now, I did the bounce test. I drove the car, drove perfect. The rotator plates are fine. They're not squeaking. They're not hanging up. With the car on the ground, you could push on it. It didn't move. Rock solid. The struts are fine. That's just a bold-faced lie. Both sides, both front struts are fine. Then they tell him he needs rear shocks, which one of the shocks you can see here, I did replace the rear shocks because the left side was showing signs of oil coming out of it. So, okay, we'll give him that one. I mean, there was nothing wrong with the shocks as far as how the car drove, and it bounce tested fine, but it's true, that one was starting to seat. Okay, we put 2 new rear shocks on it. Then they tell him he needs rear toe links. All right? That's these guys right here. All right? That sets the toe. Both sides. Rock solid. I went over it with the pry bar. The bushings are in perfect shape. There's nothing wrong with those toe links. In fact, there's nothing wrong with the rear suspension, period. And they wanted $300 for the links and $120 to put them on. They're not bashful. Bold-faced lie. So when it's all said and done, I'm not going to tell you what my bill is with him. Oh, and then they say four-wheel alignment, which is total, just $85 for that. Oh, and then a protection plan for another $30. They're just not bashful at all. And in the case of an alignment, okay, these cars do not have caster or camber adjustments. Vehicles in the last 15 years, they've built them so robust that they've gotten rid of the adjustments, and they're built to more exacting standards. So they don't need a caster or a camber adjustment. The only thing that you can adjust on these cars, most modern cars, is the toe by adjusting your tie rod end adjustment. Now, the tires on this car are wearing perfect. It drove perfect. The steering wheel was straight. It hasn't hit any curbs. I asked him, has the car hit a curb or anything that would make you think it's out of alignment? No. And so this $85 for the front end alignment is just bunk. It's just bunk. Granted, if you'd hit something and you needed to replace, if you bent something, because that's what happens on these cars now, is if you hit something hard enough, you'll bend it, right? And then you replace that part, and now you could say, well, okay, you want to line it up. You want to put it on an alignment rack to make sure that your toe is set right and that you're not going to burn up a set of tires. That would make sense. Not in the case on this car. That was just another money grab. So my point is, most people don't know the workings of an automobile. And so you're left to the mercy of what they're going to tell you. So what the best thing you can do is have them show you. Like, if you said in this case, show me why I need to replace that rotor, what are they going to say? With the car's on the rack and you walk up there, and have them explain to you why you need 2 new rotors in the front and the rear. What's wrong with them struts when the car drives fine and they're not leaking and it passes the bounce test and they're not making noise? Have them explain that to you and show you why. Keep them honest. This particular place, you go by there on any given day and there'll be 30 cars in the lot. How many of them people are they getting? How many of them people are they taking down this rabbit trail? You can believe quite a few every day are getting sold a bunch of stuff they don't need. So the other thing you want to do is you want to make sure you get all your old parts. Take them. Just take them. Even if you don't want to take them, take them. Keep them honest. In Michigan, by law, we have to make the parts available, and I believe this would be true in most states. You have to make the parts available, even if it's a caliper that's got a core on it, so that the customer can at least look at them. I always force them upon my customers. Most of them don't want to take the parts, but they're looking at them before they leave here. And I go over the bill, and I show them, this is what we replaced, and there's your old parts. You want to run these guys through that process. Don't just drive off assuming that you got everything you paid for. So that's my rant for the day. I appreciate you watching, and if you have any questions, by all means, fire away.